What is going on, YouTube? Patrick here. As promised on Thursday when I released my What Sold video, some live footage is coming at you right now. We're going to go to 3 thrift stores in this video. Found some really good stuff, so be sure to stick around through all of it to see what all I got. I will definitely put up some comps on what I picked up today. So first stop is Savers Thrift Store. I always head straight to the back and look at the electronics. You can see that I'm not the first person here, which always gives me a lot of anxiety. I always want to be the first person here. It doesn't usually happen anymore. There was a lot of VCRs over here, you guys, but most of them were kind of the junkier brands, we'll call them. And then kind of here in the little medium-sized electronics section, I wasn't seeing anything either. So a little bit of a disappointing start to the day. Have seen some good baseball bats and other stuff lately, so also checked out the sporting goods section. So then I headed over to the toys. Not as good as 2 weeks ago when I was here. These pegs were full 2 weeks ago, and you can see like it's starting to get a little bit less full, but still some good things out here. Didn't see a ton of interesting stuff in that section, mostly the cars and some of the stuffed animals, and a lot of maybe even some plush type stuff, and then the games. And then you can see now I'm going to start going through the section where there's all of the like, not loose toys exactly, but maybe the bags full of toys over here, right? So a couple weeks ago, I found a couple of Transformers, maybe I guess it was a Transformer and a GoBot. And I've found some good GI Joes in here before and some other things there. Today, right, you can see that some of these pegs are a little bit empty and they've got a lot of these grab bags basically, right? So what I tend to look for that was based on the advice of somebody else was looking for big bundles that had a lot of different things in them, or a lot of the same thing in it, right? So lots of Paw Patrol or something like that, where you can get a whole bunch of one toy line. And you guys can see now, of course, I'm looking below where the camera is pointing. I was trying to point it a little higher since that was what we couldn't see in the last video, but I get so into looking at this stuff a lot of times that I forget to point the camera back down again, which makes sense. Now I'm up at the high part and you guys can see what I'm looking at. There isn't a ton of interesting stuff in most of these bags today. I think actually down low is where I found a couple of things that we're going to see. It's coming up here in a little bit. But some interesting things. I saw a couple of like Transformers things in there. There was some dinosaurs, right? So looking for some Schleich. That's a German brand of plastic dinosaur. Those can do all right, anywhere from like $7 to $15, right? So if you get them in these little bags that are $2.99, $3.99, you can do actually pretty well, especially if there's like two, three, four of them in one bag. Unfortunately, a lot of times you're going to get one Schleich and then like three or four of the ones that aren't worth as much. That's just how it goes. And you can see as we get into more over here, there's even less. That bag, though, is going to come with me. There was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figure in there, as well as that Transformer. It's the Rescue Bots Transformer, and you can see that the value there was not bad at all. It was pretty good. So definitely threw that in the cart. Wasn't really sure at the time. I think I ended up just buying it with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in there. And then here's the second bag that I'm going to get. There's two more of the Rescue Bots in there. So I was like, one of them looked really interesting. There's this Optimus Prime, which I didn't really have high hopes for, but you can see has some value. And then this Optimus Prime here that was more of a Dinobot, they called it, right? And I thought that looked really interesting. You can see there is some value there. Looks like it's going to be about $18, $19 shipped. So it'll probably be about $14 after shipping. So it's going to be a great pickup in that bag. Probably $30 worth of Transformers for about $3.99. So that was it with the bagged items. So I headed over here to the more hard goods. And I have not been finding stuff over here, you guys, but I did see this 3D puzzle up on the top shelf, which most of the time you look inside of these things and the bags are open. There's just 1,000 pieces going everywhere. This one looked like it was sealed up. So I looked it up, and you can see there's only these two that have sold. One of them's new, one of them is used, but it was in the $20 to $30 range. So for $6.99, I validated that it was new inside, that the bag was sealed, and decided to pick it up. I don't know that it will be a winner, but I was like, hey, Christmas is coming. Let's get some more toys up. You can see I was about to look that Christmas vacation thing up, and then I got distracted with this person in the cart. That's the way thrift stores go, especially at this time of day sometimes. It's really funny the things you see in the video here that I didn't see live. Like there's a couple of toys where I'm like, I should have looked into that a little bit more, and I didn't when I was there live. Super funny. But getting down here towards the end of the like bigger toy section, and I'm gonna start looking at the board games, right? So I am looking for any of the higher end stuff, right? There's a bunch of names out there that you can just kind of look for. I saw this Burnout game here, and it looked a little bit unusual, so I was like, all right, let's grab that. And then I saw that there was a Monopoly here that looked like it was a collector's edition, which it was. So I was like, you know what? That can go in the cart as well. We'll look it up before we leave. You can see I didn't put any comps up there. Neither one of those games were worth anything. So they did go back on the shelf before I left the store. But right, that's kind of my goal with this is the first loop around the store at least is things usually go in the cart and don't worry about the value too much at that point of the trip. I want to try and hit all the different departments as quickly as possible, and then I'll look them up at the end. But of course, then I break my own rule right there. I looked it up first. The next stop in the store is to go up to the front and look at the case. They've reorganized this recently, so I did spend quite a bit of time just looking to see what they had available. And you can see a lot of it is back on the shelf behind the case back there. And of course, there's a couple things in there where I'm like, I can't even see the price. I think there was Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U, and I think they wanted like 19.99 for it, of course. But there's a whole bunch of action figures back there, which I thought was really interesting. I'm a big toy guy, even outside of like doing reselling. I like toys, so it was really interesting to me. Nothing from behind the counter went in. So I walked around and boom, right up on the top shelf there, Department 56. They wanted $7.99 for it. And you can see the comps are anywhere from $19 up to $60. It's going to end up being a pretty good pickup. I will probably list that in the $40 to $50 range. But then, of course, now I'm like, well, what else is there? Is there more Department 56? I saw the dancing snowman down there on the bottom shelf. I did decide to pick him up. I don't know that it's going to be a good purchase or not. You can see there's comps anywhere from like $20 to $30. So it may have been a bad purchase. I don't know. I figured I would take a risk, especially with Christmas coming. There ended up being quite a bit of Department 56 up on that shelf up top there. Did not pick up any of that. They wanted $7.99 for it. And I'm just like, you know what? The building itself, one of the village pieces, that makes sense to me. But the little accessories, I didn't even pick them up a few weeks back at a garage sale when they were $5 each. Like, I just don't feel like that there's just enough meat on the bone on those to be worth my time. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not value. If you can get them cheap enough, like $1 to $2, maybe even 3 or 4 for some of them, you're going to be able to flip those anywhere from $10 to $20. And there's the occasional gem out there that'll go even more. But just for that kind of price, $5 a lot of times to me isn't really worth it, right? I might pay $1 for it. You do need some of those lower end items to help fill out your stuff. If you're lucky enough to find only good stuff, you can do pretty well, right? Of course, but like most of us, I'm filling in mine a lot of times with video games that are worth more like $7 to $15, and filling it in with some of the brand new items that are worth that range. So you can see I looked through all of the cookware and all that stuff. I didn't find any Nordic ware or anything, but I came around the corner into the little devices here, and I saw that green blender up there, which now I've got the comp up on the screen, KitchenAid, and I just put up the one comp there that was the green one, selling for $50. Some of the other colors, though, were going for more or less depending on the color. The silver one seems to be the more valuable one. Looked like that one was selling for like maybe 60, 70, $80 depending. But I figured for I think this was $9.99 for a $50 blender. I figured that was a pretty good deal, so I picked that up. Um, I think I will probably end up listing it at like $59.99, and I'll look to take a best offer potentially in the $45 to $50 range. Ooh, nice catch, Patrick. I have been looking for one of these little electric choppers for myself. I probably just need to buy one that's brand new. Like every time I see these things at Savers, they're wrecked. So usually just not a very good deal. I've been really happy with this section over at this Savers, especially the last few weeks. There's just been a lot of really interesting things to look at. Right, obviously haven't really been buying a ton of it, but I always like when you can go and see stuff, right? Anytime I'm at a garage sale, an estate sale, if there's lots of stuff to look at, even if I didn't buy anything, I'm oftentimes going to be pretty happy with it, right? Even this little driveway thing that I just picked up and looked at, I don't know if that had any value or not at the time when I picked it up. But I comped it really quickly. I think I just opened up eBay and scanned the barcode, and then you can see it went right back on the shelf. So like if there's stuff to dig through, like that can be a really fun day to me. Sometimes, right, you just want to keep going and finding stuff, but some of these sales and what you call it, thrift stores where you can dig is really interesting. I thought that football helmet, like it was a bowl, I thought that was really interesting, so I made sure to look that up as well. And then the Munchkin here, I thought it was interesting enough that I'm like, okay, let's scan that in. Obviously, I did not put up a comp on the screen, so it was not really worth it. I couldn't find any of that football helmet. I don't know. Maybe I should have taken a risk there, but I've been trying to take less risks lately, if that makes any sense. I have taken plenty of risks this year, and I've got a good amount of inventory for sale. I've got a good amount of inventory still to list, and I really just don't want to be taking up more and more space with stuff that's a risk, right? Like I've got plenty of that. And I've been trying to figure out a good system to move some of the stuff that I have in my apartment over to my storage unit. Haven't quite gotten to that point yet. Like time is still my most valuable commodity. So that's going to take time. I did make sure to make a big list of all my inventory, and then I've got like an idea for a process to move it back and forth, but have not done it yet. So I saw this Ronco rotisserie up on top here, and I actually have a couple of these right now. But I've been looking to see if maybe one of the models, the 6000 model, if I found one of those, maybe I would pick that up. I have this exact model. It was the 5000, and it's been for sale for like 18 months, you guys. It just has not sold. So I probably will not be picking those up anymore. They were back in vogue, I guess, maybe a couple of years ago, but it seems like maybe uh, the desire for them is gone again. I mean, mine was for sale all last winter, and I thought for sure it would sell, and then it just didn't. And I've heard of some people selling the 6000 for anywhere in the 2 to 300 range. And then I actually picked up a couple of, I think they were 3000 or 4000s a couple of years ago that were brand new. One of my friends had an estate sale at a relative's house, and they had a whole bunch of those. So I bought all of those, and we did end up selling all of them for like $400 each. So that was cool, but they were brand new. So that really helps a lot. All right, so you guys can see that I'm looking through all the electronics here. Definitely the pegs are a little more bare than they were the last time I was here, and not finding a lot of interesting stuff. I didn't even bother to speed it up just because I ended up only spending about a minute and a half, 2 minutes here. And I was like, well, I can spin a tail while I'm looking at this. And I was looking at this camera trying to find the megapixels. I made up for myself a hard and fast rule a couple of years ago that if it's 12 megapixels or higher, just pick it up. Generally, I've done pretty well with that rule. Usually it's worth at least $30 at that point. So I grabbed my cart and went through the statues section here. I have found some good Jim Shore stuff here through the years, as well as some other fun stuff. But there's probably a bunch of brands that I don't even know about, honestly. Like I stay away from those little white figures that are there in the middle. I think maybe they're precious moments. I don't even know. But I usually do not even bother with those. I think if you can get them cheap enough, just like just about anything, you can do pretty well. But yeah, I have not ever looked into them. So here is an item. I did not end up picking this one up, but wooden shoe boxes. There's the shoe shine box. Um, that style where it kind of opens up from the side, for whatever reason, I haven't had as much luck with that as I have with the ones that open up from the back. Those can sell usually anywhere from like $25 plus. So if you can get them at these thrift stores, for like $4.99, $5.99, it's not a bad little flip. And there's not a lot you have to do to them because they're shoe shine box, right? This is not going to be something where you're like, oh, I got to get this cleaned up and spick and span and like perfectly set up. No, it's a shoe shine box. It's going to have some dirt on it. It's going to have some shoe shine stains on the inside. So I hit it around the corner here, excuse me, and you can see I'm looking at all the mugs. So I'm still looking for like Starbucks mugs. I'm looking for anything that kind of catches my eye. I'm looking for Tim Hortons mugs. I've heard that those can do well. I'm even looking for Death Wish coffee, which I don't think I'm ever going to find one of those, you guys, at this point. Like I have not found one in the last year plus that I've been looking for one. So either they're super rare or I'm just not going to find one. So next stop here, I headed back to the books. Mostly I'm looking for Stephen King hardcovers. Older the better. So anything from like the early 80s. I'm looking for any of his gunslinger books, especially in hardcover. But I'm also going to look for anything that catches my eye. Of course, I'm looking for Harry Potter. There will be a couple here in a minute, but I actually have a pretty good collection of Harry Potter books that are in like there's 7 in the series, so numbers 5, 6, and 7. I've got a whole bunch of those. I'm really missing like 1, 2, and 3. I also take a look in the fantasy section each time and occasionally find something that's interesting just to me, right? This is the category where I would potentially buy a book for myself to read, but I also know some of the authors that are a little more rare. Right, I've found things like Patrick Rothfuss hardcover books, which that he's only written, I think, 2 books, you guys, but I just kind of knew that those books were going to be a little bit more valuable, so I will pick them up, and you run into them occasionally. I have found them a couple different times here and there. Um, but mostly when I'm looking at especially the paperbacks, I'm looking for series, right? If I can find that series that has anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6 books, and maybe Savers has a sale on for where they're like $1.99, it might be worth picking up because if you can sell a 5 book series for, 20, 30, 40, $50, something like that, you might be doing pretty good. You can see the Harry Potter books there, and then of course there is the Cursed Child there, which I did end up buying because honestly I just don't see that one very often. It's not worth a ton by itself, but what I'm going to do is add it to my Harry Potter hardcover lot, and then at some point when I sell that, it'll go along with that one. I'll do the same thing with the Tales of the Beetle the Bard. That one I will a lot of times pick that up just so I can bundle it. But you can see there's a couple of book sevens there. I think there was even a book 6 up on the shelf, and I've just left them. Even at $3.99, especially I guess at $3.99, it's not a really great deal, and especially since I have like 3 or 4 of them already. So I did my second loop around the store, and back in the toy section here, I saw this lizard-looking guy, and to me, it looked like a Star Wars guy. So now I'm checking, going, this looks like Star Wars. I'm looking for a stamp so that I can see if it's Hasbro, or if I can see if it's what it actually is, because it looks like a dewback from Star Wars: A New Hope, and I'm not seeing any stamps. So then I'm like, okay, well, let's double check. Are all his toes complete? Are all his feet broken? Are not unbroken, right? Like making sure, because that's a lot of times what I forget to do is check to make sure that there's no broken pieces. And finally, on one of his feet, I finally find the little stamp here, Lucasfilm Limited 2009 dewback, and you can see there's the comps up there, anywhere from like $25 up. I think I'll probably end up pricing him at $29.99 when I list him. So that is the toy section. I did do another little pass over here. I apologize, there's going to be some really weird editing here because as I was looking through this section, Amber, my wife, did end up giving me a call. So there's some really weird things where I've got my phone out. I took a look at this. It just kind of looked interesting. Just wanted to see what the brand was on it. Didn't recognize it, so I ended up just pushing it back. But I've actually done pretty well in a couple of these kind of like kitchen adjacent aisles recently. Just spending some time studying the shelves, looking up some of the weirder things, and you can see there was Amber calling me right there, and I can even see the item that I'm going to pick up, which is really funny that I didn't pick it up yet. There it is. I will probably put it around it. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see exactly what it is, but it is a Ninja food processor pitcher. The blade is in there and the lid is in there. I'll put the comp up here in a second, but this one actually you could sell all together with those 3 things, or you could even part this one out into the different pieces and do pretty well. So you can see there's the pitcher at the top just for $30 free shipping. There's all 3 of them in there for about $40 together. I think I'll probably end up putting it all up as one for $40 plus shipping. So not a bad little pickup there at $6.99. All right, so I'm watching in the tiny little preview window and I am not seeing what I'm looking at in advance, so I want to make sure I can do that. And you can see I had just made a cut there in the middle because I ended up just sitting there and studying for a while. And then as I moved down the rack, I saw that polar bear guy there with the red scarf in the middle, and I thought he was interesting. So I was like, all right, I'll look up that cookie jar. All right, second thrift store. This is a Goodwill. This one, I left a little bit of footage in here. I didn't spend a ton of time here because look at these shelves, you guys. Compared to that Savers, this is a ghost town. Like these shelves are basically empty. There's a couple of interesting things, but realistically, like this this Goodwill I think is going to go out of business, you guys, just because there's just almost never anything on these shelves. And it's kind of sad. Like I've actually had some of my biggest scores ever in this Goodwill, but it's like so few and far between that I actually find stuff. I almost don't even bother coming here anymore. I did head over to the media, and you can see there's all these brand new and sealed VHS tapes, which they're all kind of piled up together, which I think means somebody else already went through them. But I was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm having a good time. I'm going to look these up. It didn't take very long, right? I put VHS and then set it to new, set it to sold, and just started going through them. And you can see there was X-Men, and I saw these comps here when I was in the store. When I've gone through it at home, I'm not sure that that's actually what it's worth. We'll see. We'll see. I did end up going up here to the case, and they've got more stuff in the case, I think, than in the entire store. So much so that you can't even really see the prices on half of this stuff. So it's a little bit frustrating, right? Like, I get it. They don't want people stealing stuff, especially when it has a little bit of value. But if you could actually make this accessible to people, maybe we would just buy it. Right? There's a couple of interesting things that if I saw them at a garage sale, I'd probably buy it. Like there's a Friends complete series in there. I would probably pick that up. And you can see I did end up getting someone to come up and open up the case for this. Is Rebel Assault 3 Rebel Strike for the GameCube. It's in good shape. I'm realizing now that I'm looking at it, it's not in the original case, which I may swap that out, and I'll probably end up getting 16 to $20 free shipping for that. So not a bad pickup. I think it ended up being 6.99, something like that. I did end up looking at that Wienermobile down there, but it wasn't worth it. All right, third thrift store. This is another Goodwill. This one's in a different part of a different town here in Connecticut. This one I've had a ton of luck at. You can see immediately, you guys, look at how much stuff there is. There's a rainbow down there on the ground. Now, of course, they wanted $150 for it, so that stayed behind. But if it had been 50, I may have picked it up. That would have actually been not a bad little deal. But I did see this Panasonic VCR here, and it's got the blue stripe. It's a little bit outside of the one that I normally pick up that I know have value. So I did make sure to look this up before buying it today. And you can see here's the comps. I think I'm going to get about $40 plus shipping for this thing. So I think they wanted $6 for it. Not a bad purchase at all for a VCR. Now, of course, don't forget a lot of VCRs, about 1 in 3 of them are not going to work. So just be ready for that. Of course, now that I found something that was a little bit bulky, I went and grabbed a cart. I was glad that I did because I ended up filling up this cart on this trip, you guys. So stay with me here. There is some interesting stuff that's going to go in the cart, and honestly, some crap stuff that's going to go in the cart that'll go back. But as I was digging through this electronics section, I was pretty surprised at how much stuff there was to look at. First of all, which you can see there's even some kitchen stuff up there where I'm like, why is that there? And then lo and behold, here is another VCR down here in the bottom right that's hiding. Oh my gosh, I didn't even see it on my first pass down. And then I was like, oh wait, what's this down here? So what I ended up doing with the VCRs today is just pulling them out and popping them in my cart. And then there's no self service in this Goodwill in the store. You have to go to like the front up by the windows. And there you go. You can see there's a couple comps in there without the remote that sell for about $40. So that's about what I think I'll get for that one. So that one was the same as the Panasonic. It's going to be about $6. Um, and then there's a couple more things here in this electronic section that I'm going to pop in the cart. There's a little back massager. This is, oh, I don't remember the brand. Let's see what it says here in a second. Brookstone. So I pop that in. I think it's going to be about $50. And then there's a John Wright cast iron piece there. Those are okay. You can see the comps there anywhere from 25 up to like $35. The 35 ones had free shipping. So I think for $6 or whatever it was, not a bad pickup, not a great pickup. Most of the time I leave the John Wrights behind. A lot of times they don't have a ton of value. All right, next cut here. I'm in the back of the store now, and what I've discovered is that they've started putting a lot of their electronics back here, at least the bulkier stuff. So what I've discovered is that you got to come back here and look through everything, look under everything, and you can see there's another VCR underneath that little, I don't even know what it is, combination hot plate, something like that. I don't even know what it was. But what I was doing is just taking these VCRs and I checked to see if it was stereo, which it was, and I popped it into my cart. This one I ended up putting back, you guys. I think even though it was stereo, it was only going to be about a $20 VCR, and I try not to buy them at that rate just because $20 there, it's going to go in one of my bigger boxes. I have to use a good amount of bubble wrap and some packing peanuts. And it's like, it's just not worth the work at that price. And then, of course, what is this? Another VCR. So this is the fourth one I found in the store. Unfortunately, this one also went back, you guys. I put it in my cart to start, and then once I looked it up, it went back on the shelf here. Just not worth it. Only going to be about a $20 machine. And then here's another good, interesting thing. Kodak carousel. If you watched my video last Saturday, you know this is an item that you should be looking for. And it's the first thing I noticed when I opened it up, no lens. The lens is missing. So I think they wanted $9.99 for that. Without the lens, I just don't think it's worth it. Now, probably the lens you could get maybe $10 shipped. That model I think was the 600, which I think probably would sell maybe 40 to 60. So there's room for some profit there, but you gotta A, make sure it works when you get home, and then B, buy the lens. So a little bit more work than I was looking to put in this day. So I'm pretending that I'm looking at some other stuff, but really what I want is those books that that gentleman there is looking at. And oh my gosh, I'm so agitated. I can just see my camera just being crazy. And I'm like, I'm trying to be calm and go look at everything else that's possible here to look at, not seeing anything else. All I want is those books. I'm like, has he put them back yet? I keep checking on him. And he's just like casually flipping through them for some reason. I don't know why. I will pop up some comps here, or I'll pop up probably a comp here once I actually get some of them into my cart. But what he was looking at are Franklin Library. And surprisingly, I had learned about this from another YouTuber, you guys. I think it was either Harry Tornado or Osborne to Thrift. I cannot remember for sure. And you can see here I am. I'm still stalking that guy, seeing if he's still looking at those books or not. And what was really bad about this is that I finally ended up having to walk away. There's a nice stack of Dr. Seuss books there, but they wanted $2 each, which is a little bit much for Dr. Seuss. You really want to get them for more like 50 cents. So I went over and looked at the DVDs and all that stuff, and then I was like, all right, I see him walking away, only to come over here and see now there's more people looking at them, and this person's holding two of them, and they ended up buying the two of them that they were holding. So I'm having a massive panic attack probably at this point. I finally had to just stop and like start looking stuff up, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna see what's left. I had a momentary lapse of two different people had looked at them, like why did they leave them? And you can see there's about six of them left. I couldn't figure out why they would have left them. So I'm like, all right, let's comp them really quickly, make sure that this is right. They wanted $3 each for them. And you can see, even at $3 each, if I bundled them up, I might be able to get as much as $100 for this lot. What I found is that there was a copy of Ulysses in here, and that one is selling anywhere from $50 to over 100. I don't really understand why one of them would have sold for over 100 and another one only be worth 50. That is a big spread. The only downside with these is that they all had the original owner's name written in it, and I think that's going to hurt my value. I did list Ulysses already for $50. Well, we'll see if I end up getting that for it. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but I'm hopeful. You can see I had Dragon Age Inquisition in my cart, but I didn't end up putting that back. So okay, guys, like pretty great stop here, honestly, at this second Goodwill, third thrift store of the day. I got a ton of good stuff in total on this trip, and really was really happy that I was out and about, being able to go and do some thrifting, and glad that I was able to bring you guys along with me. If you've enjoyed this video, please do smash that like button, and if you're interested in subscribing, please do so. If you just came along for the ride and just want to watch without subscribing, that's okay too. I'm glad to have had you along. Uh, that will do it for me this week. I will try and get up some videos this week during Thanksgiving, but if not, please do have a happy Thanksgiving. Once again, my name is Patrick, and thank you very much.